welcome in everyone. You are watching On Deck with DeRo Arch. I am Eric DeRossett. Alongside of me is Darren Archer. We are about two-thirds of the way through February or so. Basketball season on the high school level is sort of in its final stages. Regular season, class 1 through 3, I guess, is districts are next week, and classes 4 and up are the following week. So high school basketball is coming to a close. Season went quickly. While you're in it, it doesn't seem very fast, but when you look back on the whole body of it, it goes quickly. So if you are a high school basketball fan, lots of good teams around. Our area of the state is well represented with some really talented teams. Don't want to name drop because you leave people out, but obviously Rogersville boys, really good right now. Stratford girls, we were talking about them previously, and Rogersville girls, and so just lots of good basketball on tap. Um, you and I are kind of living that right now. We are in the midst of trying to get ready for districts ourselves. So good to have you tonight, Darren.
Thank you, my friend. Glad to be here and looking forward to talking some sports with you.
Yeah, absolutely. I think we'll start off with some college basketball. We have not given college basketball a ton of coverage lately. We kind of got through college football, NFL season, the Super Bowl, and all those kinds of things. But I think college basketball is coming to the forefront. March Madness is probably 3 weekends away. Maybe I'm just rough guess, but something like that. So college basketball right now, the powers that be, top 10 ish. I believe this is the coaches poll. Michigan, Houston, Duke, 1 through 3. That next level, next tier of 3 is Arizona, UConn, and Iowa State. And then sort of the next tier would be Purdue, Gonzaga, Nebraska, Illinois, and Florida. Kind of round out the top 10 or 12 or so. So just some general thoughts college basketball wise before we dive in.
It's been a great season up to this point. There's a few surprise teams in that top 25, and I know we're talking about the top 10 right now, but there's been a lot of shuffling going up and down that top 10 lineup, and even in the number one spot. I know Michigan's there right now. Purdue University started off there during the season. There's been 3 or 4 teams that have been the number one ranked team in the nation, and that just goes to show you how tough some of these conferences are. And I think the parity in college basketball now with the NIL and transfer rules has really, uh, I don't want to say level the field, but I think it's brought the bottom closer to the top
I agree.
than what it used to be.
I agree. And hey, I think it's refreshing to sort of see Nebraska in there. Iowa State. Uh, I mean, they've had certain tradition in the past, but again, over the past 5 to 8 years, that's not necessarily a school you think of in the top 10 or so. So yeah, I think to your point, kind of the talent pool's kind of squeezing towards the middle and towards the top a little bit. So good to see Nebraska and Iowa State in there for sure. Uh,
Absolutely, and I wouldn't say Iowa State's a surprise, but definitely Nebraska.
yeah,
And we're recording this on a Wednesday evening for a Friday show. But once again, to kind of show you the parity, they lose at Iowa last night. So here again, top 10 school getting knocked out. And there will be a lot more of that, especially when the conference tournaments start.
yeah, yeah, and it's the classic case of playing within your conference and sort of beating up or getting beat up by a team that's ranked very similar to you. Uh, and we talked about it before. You hope to protect your home floor and hope to steal one on the road. And then for teams that have a conference tournament, they turn around in 3 weekends and they play each other again over the course of about 4 or 5 days. So um, I'm going to kind of shift to maybe the next tier of 10 or 12 teams, which is SEC loaded. well represented in that group. Arkansas coming in around 20, I think. Alabama, Vanderbilt maybe at 19-ish. Texas Tech is 13 to 15, I think. So SEC well represented in that next tier of teams, 10 through 20, let's say. So I think the question that I might throw your way is how, when it comes tournament time, does a 19th ranked SEC team sort of play its way into the top 10 field before it's over? I'm not really asking that in a way that's super clear cut, but because the SEC is such a tough conference and they have to play each other and beat each other up, my suspicion is they drop in rankings because they have losses, right? A lot of those SEC teams are, I'm just going to throw out a 17-9
Right.
record ish,
Right.
right? But some of those losses are to each other and to a team that's ranked very similar to them. So I think the question I'm trying to get to is, hey, does the SEC have more top 10 or 12 teams than what it's showing right now?
Well, I don't know, because in my opinion, and this is strictly my opinion, the SEC basketball wise on the men's side is probably the third best conference in the nation. Um, the Big 12 has got to be first
Yeah,
and foremost. Um, and there's no bias there.
yeah,
Big 10 probably falls in right underneath them with them and being probably closer to the SEC than they are
yeah,
the Big 12. But um, I think there will be a lot more shuffling go on as the season progresses. There's a lot of uh, big time games coming up, and some of these teams that are in the top 25, they've got 3 games stacked on top of each other
yeah,
against other top 25 teams. We're kind of to that point in time in the season.
right.
And then obviously how you do in the conference tournament. Um, yeah, there could be some shuffling from, let's say, a team that is that 19-7, and right now they're hovering in the mid to upper teens in the rankings. I think the rankings kind of go out the door.
Mm,
Um, when it comes time to seed the NCAA tournament, getting to the championship game of your conference tournament, I think, can bolster you into
right.
uh, that top 10 type um, seed,
Yep.
overall seed, so to speak. Um, I don't know. There's a lot of basketball to be played. I think a lot of emphasis this year will be put on the conference tournaments, just because there is so much parity and the
Right.
teams are beating up on each other so much throughout the conference season that it's going to be, um, you know, survival of the fittest, and the cream's going obviously probably going to rise to the top outside of maybe a few um, upsets in quotes, but
Right.
I think that the SEC is a very good basketball conference. I think your top 3 teams are probably potentially top 10
Mm,
type teams.
yeah.
After that, it's kind of, um, you're probably looking at a lot of 3 more, probably 4, 5, 6 type seeds in those
Yeah.
teams that are in the top 20 right now. And teams you don't want to play in the opening round of the NCAA tournament,
Absolutely.
or
Yeah.
even to go to the Sweet 16. They're that
Absolutely.
good.
Yeah. And this is a case in point, I think, to what we've been trying to say. Uh, just a small example. I believe it's tonight. You said we're recording this on a Wednesday night. I think Mizzou goes to Vanderbilt tonight. Okay. Well, Vanderbilt's the 19th ranked team in the nation. Um, for them to sort of stay in that pocket of teams, like it's probably a must win game for Vanderbilt at home. No knock on Mizzou, but like uh, for them to sort of stay in that little niche, like they got to win tonight. Um,
Yeah.
whereas if they were playing Kentucky or Arkansas or Texas Tech, somebody like that, then there's not a loss to those people doesn't shake up the rankings to the same degree. So again, like the parity, as long as you're playing people like you can sort of stay in the mix. But if you're playing somebody that's in theory below you, you better win it.
Right.
Um,
And you can even flip that, DeRo. Mizzou right now is kind of hovering around that bubble area.
Agreed.
Last report, Joe Lunardi's bracket prediction had Mizzou as the last four in.
Yeah.
They had an awfully tough loss to Texas last week,
Yeah. Yeah.
which were considered right there on the bubble. And if Mizzou's able to win tonight, that kind of pushes them over the hump, I think, at least for the time being, in solidifying, a 10, 11, 12 seed
I agree.
uh, at this point in time of the year. So, I mean, there's both teams are playing for a lot. It seems to be that way every game that's going on with some of those top tiered teams
Right.
in each conference.
And you're right. So, and to flip that, so now if Mizzou were to win tonight, now all they can say is, "Hey, we beat number 19 Vanderbilt on the road," right? And
Right.
so that changes that narrative for them completely, right?
Yeah.
Until they go play the next SEC team in 4 days or whatever. I mean,
Right.
it can
Right.
change. Just like you said, it can change. It can go from a loss to Texas, which is seemingly a bad loss in terms of how it translates for their future. But in just a span of 4 days now, they can beat Vanderbilt at Vanderbilt, and it's the exact opposite effect. So
Right.
yeah, a lot to be sorted out, and sort of those power conferences. I mean, how they feel this Saturday may be completely different than how they feel on the following Saturday. Not just based on their own performance, but based on other matchups that might have taken place through the week. So, yeah, good time for college basketball fans, and I'm probably a little bit of a, you know, looking back to how things were, but I've always put a value on conference play. I always, I just love conference play and conference rivalries, and that whole landscape has changed over the past several years. But to me, just as a fan, I think conference matchups are cool. I think it's kind of what college basketball is partly about. So will be fun to watch as it progresses. Like I say, in about 3 weeks, the dust will settle, and they'll go figure out who the very best team is in early April. So good stuff. Going to switch gears to a different sport here, and I'm going to come back to NCAA basketball here in a second. Um, Going to touch on spring training. You and I have addressed spring training over the past couple of shows. As a baseball purist, love spring training. I love what it represents in terms of the time of the year. It's spring and longer days and some sunshine, and so all those things. I was thinking today, you and I we've talked stadiums before and places we like to visit, fields and stadiums that we'd like to go to. Personally, I have been to uh, New Bush and Old Bush Stadium in St. Louis. Been to Royal Stadium, Kauffman Field. I have been to Wrigley once. I have been to Great American Ballpark on a few occasions. I have been to Arizona, the Diamondbacks Stadium. The roof was closed that day because it was about 106 degrees. Um, and I think that's the only stadiums I've been to. So I'm going to have you list yours, and then we're going to talk about places we'd like to visit.
Sounds good. Obviously, being a Cubs fan, I make the yearly trek up to Chicago and have been to Wrigley several times. Been to New Bush, Old Bush, Kauffman. Um, was actually at the old Riverfront Stadium
Mm,
back during the Big Red Machine
and I am
era.
jealous. I am
And
jealous.
I had no clue. I think I was 5 or 6 when I was there.
Yeah,
Had no clue what I was watching, but looking back on it, man, I can remember bits and pieces of it. And
yeah, that's cool.
what a neat experience! I had no idea I was experiencing. Um, Gosh, where else have I been? I can't even remember, to be honest with you.
I know
Uh,
you've gone to
prob
Florida some. Have you been to Tampa Bay Sphere?
I have been. I have been
Yeah.
there. Tropicana Field.
Yep.
Um, Gosh, you caught me off guard. I'd have to think about that and actually write down a list over all the years. One thing
Yeah.
I am planning on doing is getting a group of guys together, and I think you and I've talked about this,
Yeah.
and start doing some stadium tours throughout the summer, and start checking stadiums off that list that we haven't been to, and just go catch a game and get the atmosphere and
Right.
uh, pre and post game festivities, and just kind of soak it all in.
Yeah,
That's definitely something that's on my bucket list.
for sure. Um, 2 stadiums that come to mind that I really like, super intrigued by, and maybe it's because they're both in the NL Central, which is where I spend most of my fan time, watch teams in the NS. I love, at least on TV, Pittsburgh, the Pirates ballpark
Yes.
to me is just fantastic. Um, hey, and tickets should be pretty easy there, I would think, right? Right now, but,
For the time being, I
yeah,
think they keep getting pitchers and like Skeens.
yeah.
Those tickets aren't going to be so cheap in the near future.
Yeah, I would love to go there. To me, it just has
Yes,
a
I
cool
agree.
feel to it. Yeah,
The
and the other one,
backdrop in that
yeah,
place is just amazing.
yeah, fantastic. Like, to me, just TV wise, it might be the most inviting, cool setting stadium out there. I mean, they're all beautiful, nice in their own way, but Pittsburgh's got
Yes.
it going.
Well, and like you said, there's games there towards the end of the season that are being televised, and you look, and you're like, man, I could be in that front row right there, taking
Uh,
a look at this because there's
yeah,
nobody there.
yeah,
I mean, there's
yeah, right.
nobody there except for when Skeens is on the mound, and
Yep,
hey, just find a day that he's not pitching and let's go.
yeah, for sure. The other stadium that I'm kind of drawn to is Milwaukee Brewers Stadium.
Yeah,
I think
yeah,
that's a cool place too. So, and again, probably biased because I'm an NL Central guy, but both those two stadiums would probably be, if I could just pick anywhere, I think those would be kind of near the top. What about you?
yeah. Obviously Fenway.
Yeah.
That's probably at the top. I would love to go to New York and catch both
Mm,
uh, a Mets game and a Yankees game, just because.
right.
Um, would have loved to have been able to go to the old Yankee Stadium. I think that would have been, one of those pieces of history that,
Right.
is no longer there that you can say, hey, I was there. Um, Gosh, other state. I'd like to go to Toronto. I
Yes.
think with that Space Needle or whatever they call it, kind of there if the roof's open and just the surrounding area. I mean, it is smack dab in the middle of Toronto
Yep.
proper. That would be an awfully neat place to go. Um,
For sure.
and then Dodger Stadium.
Yeah. 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 You're going to pay for that one because I got some salaries they got to pay for. So,
Yeah, that's right. No free
uh,
giveaways this year
no,
in LA.
no, no. And hot dogs are probably $18 a piece or something out there.
Yeah, right.
Um, Sidetrack here. Coached with a guy named Todd Sell for several years. Todd's a great guy. He's now at Ozark, um, and he went to high school at Rogersville.
Okay.
Played under Gorman in basketball and
Yeah.
played
Yeah.
football there as well. But he's early on in his, like, he was probably, when I worked with him, he was probably in his 20s, and he had already started doing sort of the stadium
Oh, wow. Yeah.
checklist, and he was well on his way in his 20s to getting the most of them.
That's awesome.
And he'd already, the reason I thought of that is because he'd already been to Toronto, which to me
Yeah.
would be like one of the toughest ones to
Sure.
work in, but he'd already made the Toronto track. So
Well, I
yeah,
would say the relationship between the United States and Canada was a lot better back then than it would be for us trying to get up to Toronto right now. So
that's probably true.
we may have to put that one on the back burner.
Yeah. I don't even think we can sneak over right now. I think we
No,
probably
no, no.
could. I don't think we need that kind of trouble. So
We'd be on the news.
we would be. Hey, I'm gonna switch gears, and I'm gonna work back towards NCAA basketball. I
Okay.
told you I was gonna do that. NBA All Star Game was this past weekend. Um, Kind of sad, honestly. And the NBA's trying.
Yeah.
They're trying to do some skills events and just trying to make it kind of an entertainment, fan friendly sort of thing. It's never going to go back to the All Star Game of yesteryear. We know that. Um, those scores are ridiculous usually in terms of scoring 170 points or whatever. Um, so here's where I'm going with this, and this is a tough question. Sort of the product that's there in the All Star Game, is that a reflection of sort of where the NBA is as a whole right now? So, and I know it's not to that degree, but the All
Right.
Star Game sort of has this. To me, this sort of has a bad vibe. I don't know.
Yeah.
I have trouble getting there, and maybe I'm alone. I mean, maybe I'm not the only one that. Maybe I'm the only one that thinks that. But and so when I watch the All Star Game, I start thinking, man, is this kind of what the NBA is or is headed towards? So I'm going to throw that out there, and then we're gonna reel it back in towards NCAA.
I'll be the first to tell you, I am not an NBA fan.
Yeah.
I'm just not. I don't have any particular reason outside of the fact that I used to like the pure amateurism of the
Mhm.
college basketball game.
Right.
That's kind of flown out the window. And,
Yes.
I just don't spend a whole lot of time watching the NBA. I did actually watch a little bit of the All Star game. And as being a casual observer, um, uh, you see a lot of top name players in an All Star game, which should be an honor to be able to participate in,
Mm.
sitting over there in their warm up gear, making the determination not to play. And, I'm sure the tickets out in LA were not cheap.
Right.
And, you know, when the All Star teams are announced, tickets are starting to be sold because kids want to be, parents want to take their kids to be able to go see um, Giannis
Mm.
Antetokounmpo, and
Right.
he's sitting. Luka Doncic, same thing. He's sitting. So, the thing of it is they're finding teams for tanking right now, but you can't get your money makers to even suit up and go through warm-ups for an all-star game. To me, that just it's off-putting, you
Yeah.
know.
Yes. Yes.
It's and I get it, they have to protect themselves. They're a business, but at the same time, there's a reason behind they are a business entity, and that's because the people that are paying the tickets to come watch them play, and there's got to be some give and take. And I'm afraid that the NBA, and I may ruffle some feathers here. The best thing that's happened to the NBA in the last 3 or 4 years was probably the NBA Finals last year with Oklahoma City, a minor
I
market
agree.
team, and the Indiana Pacers, a minor market team.
I
A
agree.
lot of people that nobody has ever seen play before, didn't even know they were on that team, are able to come to the forefront when a lot of your major market teams, teams that you're going to see every time there's an NBA game on one of the three-letter networks. Um, I just think NBA's in a bad spot right now. I really do.
I do too, and I think that's kind of where I was going. Is I sort of feel like the All Star Game is sort of mirroring what probably or is representing what's probably a bigger problem. I think people are sort of
Yeah.
falling out of even even NBA fans are sort of falling out of love with the NBA a little bit. Um, you made a great point about the tanking, and I'm going to come back to that here in a little bit too. But I think that's a problem as well.
Yeah.
Um, and I am like you, like the fact that Indiana and Oklahoma City, you know, those teams playing well at least last year, and getting it out of LA or out of the Knicks or something like that was really good for the NBA. But yeah, it was that All Star game's hard for me, and it scares me because I want the NBA to thrive, and because I harken back to Julius Erving and Larry
Oh yeah.
Bird, Magic Johnson, and the Bad Boys in Detroit like that. And I know it's not that way anymore, but I still want the NBA to hold on to those roots if they can, and it feels like it's not going that way. So I'm going to take that just one step further, and you just barely touched on it. How close is the NCAA, maybe their product? How close are they to having the same issues maybe that we're talking about the NBA? Like, is that close, or is there still enough distance there that we can just be NCAA fans and and feel like it's going to stick?
I think the NCAA is a whole other. They have a whole other set of issues. I
Mm,
don't think viewership and support is one of them, and I think that's the NBA's biggest problem right now. Is they're trying to, um, I think they're trying to reach the wrong market.
yeah,
They've lost the market that they had. And but with the NCAA, as long as you have the NCAA tournament and leave that quasi as is,
yeah,
um, I think this time of year it is always going to be the show, no
yeah,
matter what else is going on, or in the sports world. Um, you know, Basketball competes with the NFL playoffs. With a lot of times, um, you're at the end of the baseball season, Major League Baseball season, um, and I think about with basketball, um, Thanksgiving weekend with the NCAA basketball game starting up, and there's a lot of big matchups
mhm,
and
yeah,
Feast Week. I love Feast Week. I really enjoy getting there and watching some of those matchups and kind of getting a feel for what's going on around the scene this new year
right,
in basketball. And then they also have to compete with the college football playoffs. And I think the college football playoffs is probably onto something. In my personal opinion, they need to expand, keep playing in December, and be done a week earlier than what they are now,
yeah,
and play straight through. Keep that. Don't take that week or 2 week
yeah,
layoff
yeah,
and between conference games and the start of the tournament. So no, I don't think so with the NCAA. They've got a
mhm,
whole other set of problems,
yeah,
and that's just, I would say, regulating your rules, but it seems like there are no rules. Um,
it's tough,
it's just like we've talked about. It's the wild, wild west.
right?
There are people making it work, um,
Yes,
and I still think it provides an awfully good product. You can turn on a TV just about every night of the week if you're a college basketball fan and find a top 25 team playing another quality opponent, just because some of these, like we talked about, Big 12, Big 10,
right,
SEC, some of those conferences are loaded.
yeah,
You're going to get good games in those conferences each night they play. So I don't think it's quite to the point where the NBA is. I think they've got a whole other set of issues that need to be dealt with and needs to be reeled in, or they will have.
yeah. Well, and hey, it's easy to hate on the NCAA, but I will say this: they're they they do a great job of marketing their product in terms of you can watch somebody, like you said, some good matchup, especially after Christmas when people
Yeah,
start like
right.
ever that's available right to you every night, and you don't have to. Yeah, and again, I'm not going to ruffle feathers either, but I don't have to subscribe Peacock, you know, to watch my favorite NCAA team. Like they're going to be on, right? I mean,
Right.
like, and the NCAA is doing a good job providing diversity of matchups and access. And they're not, even the NFL sort of just playing that card where they're going to get multiple networks involved, and you got to pay a subscription. Hey, and so far the NCAA sort of stayed out of that. So the NCAA, yeah, they're doing a great job with their ability to people access, and so I think as long as they stay in that pocket, and you mentioned target audience, right? I think they've got a really good awareness of, hey, this is the group we're trying to reach. We're not trying to get fancy and get outside of that. And so, yes, I think the gap. I'm with you. I think the gap between the NCAA and the NBA is still wide, and the NCAA product is much better. I do worry that they can. Everything's a trend, right? I mean, typically there's trends in sports on the court and off the court, and I'm worried that maybe the NCAA will sort of follow the NBA path, and I don't think that's the way they want to go. So
Yeah.
time will tell on that, but uh, regardless, March Madness is coming, and I think we're both excited about that product for sure. So I'm going to mention a couple of things in state that I think are worth mentioning here before we move on to our Hold'em Fold'em sequence to close the show. St. Louis University men's basketball. Uh, Prior to last night, they were 24 and I'm sorry. Yes, they were 24-1. Had lost to Stanford, I believe, early on. They did lose on the road last night to Rhode Island, but they are 24-2. St. Louis competes in the Atlantic 10. That's for me. That's a really quiet 24-2. I haven't done a good job keeping up with them, but hey, shout out to St. Louis University.
Yeah, I think they, as of the last poll, I think they were ranked 17th in the nation,
I believe that's
somewhere in
right.
there,
Yeah, yeah,
and have quietly just moved themselves down that poll. Now, I would venture to say that they're gonna bump back a few spots
right.
after this loss this weekend, but they're the type of team that if they can finish off the rest of this season with no more blemishes and make it to the championship game of the A10 tournament
Hmm.
without any major hiccups, they're probably at worst an at-large bid.
Yeah,
So they are protecting themselves right now if they continue to play the way that they have been, keep winning those games. Um, and I just think that's an awfully good place. That's a place that there are maybe a handful of teams that don't win their conference tournament can put themselves in a
right.
secure spot to be able to get an at-large bid because of their whole body of work.
Well, and we earlier we were talking about SEC teams and how where they finish and how that fits into a tournament seed and all that. My guess is those teams don't want to open with St. Louis. I mean,
No,
when you because
no,
they're used to winning, right? This year they
yes,
they just know winning,
right.
and so that's not a good opening match for anybody, I would guess.
DeRo
So
St. Louis has 10 guys, or I'm sorry, 6 guys averaging over 10 points or more.
that's
And that kind of
crazy.
gives you an idea. They'll hit you from every which angle, and um, very well coached. Amazing turnaround with that program,
Yeah,
and look forward to seeing what this team can do down the stretch. And hopefully, they can take care of business in the A10 tournament. And it'll be interesting to see where they fall as a seed in the NCAA tournament um, when it's selection time.
yeah. I think I've got this right. The most famous basketball alum at St. Louis University for me. Tell me if I get this wrong. Larry Hughes.
Larry
Was he a
Hughes,
St. Was he St. Louis
he was a Billiken.
University?
He
Yeah,
sure was. He
and he
sure
was
was.
good and good in
And
the NBA. Could play.
his his high school teammate, um, I'm going to get this screwed up, Justin Tatum, who is
Okay.
the father of Jason Tatum, who plays
Yes.
for. Uh, they were both high school teammates, and they both went to SLU together. So,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, definitely two stalwarts in Billiken basketball history.
Yeah. And hey, it translated for Larry Hughes. I mean, he went and played and was
Absolutely,
was a was a dude in the NBA. So, yep. Shout out to St. Louis. I hope they just keep winning. That's
absolutely.
awesome for our state.
Yep.
The other in-state thing that I was going to make note of, Washington University women's basketball coach, Lisa Stone. I do not know Coach Stone, uh, but she was celebrated her 700th career collegiate win just recently. So shout out to Coach Stone and Washington University. 700 wins is a lot of wins.
That is a bunch of wins, and what an accomplishment! Congratulations.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. With that, I'm going to take us to our final segment of the show. It's called Hold 'em or Fold 'em. Quick synopsis. Every time we have a show, I put Darren on the spot with a hold 'em or fold 'em question. I try to come up with some creative things and sort of put him on the spot on. I give him a premise, and then he has to decide whether he's going to hold the premise or fold the premise. So, uh, first one is this. We've talked NBA tonight quite a bit. The first one is within 2 years, the NBA will do a complete overhaul on their NBA draft process within 2 years. And so here's the backdrop on that. This tanking issue, which you referenced earlier, a lot of teams are tanking in hopes of getting a higher pick, and it's lottery based, and there's a lot of variables on that, and there's a lot of criticism. And hey, it may just be Twitter type criticism, but nonetheless, there is an element out there that's saying, hey, this draft process doesn't work anymore because teams tank and they take advantage of the system. So the premise is within 2 years, the NBA will do an overhaul on their NBA draft process.
Gosh, that's a tough one. That can go either way. I'm going to say fold them right off just the top of my head.
Yeah.
And here's why. I think you get tanking in every professional sport
Mm.
that there is. I mean, I can remember when the Indianapolis Colts, it was called suck for luck.
Yep.
You know,
Yep. I remember it.
Andrew Luck was going to be the very first draft pick, and Colts sure needed a quarterback, and they sucked for luck. So, and I think you see it a lot in baseball too. I mean, let's be honest. When you can call up some guys at the end
Yeah.
of September and load up your roster with a bunch of young guys and throw them out there and
Yeah.
lose a few and improve your draft stock.
Yeah.
It happens everywhere. So I don't think there's going to be any changes. And I think if there are changes, how are you going to police that? How are you going to police that somebody really does have an injury that
Right.
says they do? So no, I'm going to be folding on that. I think tanking is just a part of. It's kind of that gray area,
Right.
like you have with racing. It's that it's not in the rules. Probably shouldn't do it, but it's not in the rules, so I'm going to
Right.
do it. So
Yeah. You made a great point that I hadn't thought of. Maybe a little easier to disguise in baseball, don't you think?
absolutely, yeah.
Because you can
When
you
you have the
can call
call
some
up,
you can call minor
yeah,
league guys up and hey, our we're shutting down our main pitcher and
sure,
you got to save
sure,
save his arms and save innings for later in his career. But yeah, I think that's a
yeah.
great point. I had not thought about that, but it probably happens in baseball, but it's a little more under the radar.
It very much is, and
Yeah.
there's an out
Yes.
for
Yes.
tanking.
Yeah. That's a great point. Great point. Second, hold 'em or fold 'em for you. Two parts. Um, the premise, or we're speaking about Tyreek Hill, who has been released by the Dolphins.
Right.
So he is out there. For any NFL team that wants to take on Mr. Hill, he is available. So the question is, or the premise is, does Tyreek Hill play again in the NFL? And if so, does he put on a Chiefs uniform again?
Oh, I'm hold'em.
Love it. Love it.
No, I honestly, and it's kind of funny the timing on all this because we talked off air that Patrick Mahomes restructured his contract yet again to
Yeah.
create quite a bit of cap space. And I mean, at this point in time in his career, I would say he is going to be as cheap as he has ever been
Yep.
or ever will be.
Yep.
And just because of all the baggage that he brings with him,
Right.
coming off of an injury, and I think that there can be a lot of stipulations placed in his contract. Kansas City probably holds the golden key in this situation,
Yeah.
and Tyreek Hill, if they are even interested. But I could very well see it. I mean, a reunion with Patrick Mahomes, Travis Kelsey, Eric Bieniemy. I mean, the
Yes.
old
Yes.
offensive coordinator. So yeah, it wouldn't. I wouldn't put it out of the realm of happening,
Yeah.
especially with as cheap as they can probably get him.
Right. I mean, you made a great point. Like, uh, it surely doesn't take much right now in
No,
NFL terms. I mean, to get sign that guy to a contract, and he would probably welcome a return to Kansas City. I would guess. I mean, there'd be some interest both sides there. He'd probably go even cheaper there than he might to some other areas. So, yeah, I'm kind of with you. I think there's a chance. I think there's a
sure.
chance that's where he ends up. So, anyway, well, that's what I
I'm
have.
not gonna let
Uh,
I'm not
uh,
gonna let you off that easy,
I figured
Dero.
as much. I figured as much.
I have a hold 'em or fold 'em
Okay.
scenario for you, and
Okay.
here it is: hold 'em or fold 'em. The final four teams of the NCAA tournament will all come from different conferences. Hold 'em or fold 'em.
Hmm. I think I'm avoiding your question a little bit, but I I think there's a greater chance of that than statistically you would think there would be. Um,
Yeah,
I think an SEC team makes it, Big 12, Big 10. Like, I think three of those for sure. Pretty good
well,
chance, right? And
you've got UConn out of the Big
yes,
East.
yes,
I mean, who
and
is probably right now a legit Final
that's
Four type team.
that's kind of where I was going with that. I mean, I think
Yeah,
they don't fit. They're not in any of those conferences, but they're really good and they may just win their way there, regardless of who
sure.
they're playing, right? I mean, I
Right.
think they're pretty good. That's a great question. I I'm going to say hold them on that one. I
Okay.
and statistically, I think it would be in Vegas and FanDuel and all that would tell you, hey, it's a long shot, but I don't feel like it's as far out of realm as what we would think. Um,
Right. I agree. I just think with the top 5 or 6 teams, you take a look at those teams, and it's changed. Like I said, it's changed quite a bit.
yeah, yeah,
Um, Even take a look at Duke out of the ACC. I mean,
yes,
here's another conference
yep,
you throw in there.
yep,
Um, there's some really good teams at the top of 5 or 6 conferences that have a legit shot of getting to the Final Four, depending on their path and staying healthy. And I mean,
right.
all the stipulations that go along with that. But it'll be interesting to see if that happens.
And you got to believe that Duke or UConn, one of those two surely comes out and makes it, right? And if
Should
if if one
should
of the if one of the two materializes, the other three could happen pretty easily, right? I mean,
absolutely.
I think the wild card is who would that fourth team be, but there's plenty of candidates for that. I think is
Oh,
what I'm saying.
absolutely. Yeah,
So great
yeah.
question, and I'm going to hold them.
All right, I'm there.
Uh,
I'm with you there, brother.
the second Monday in April, we'll see, or second Saturday in April, we'll see if I was right or
Yeah,
not. So,
yeah.
good stuff. Good stuff. Well, I'm going to wrap this up for tonight, Darren. It's been good. We kind of missed a week. Our day jobs have kept us hopping lately, so we've been busy.
Busy
But
time of year for us.
good to catch up. Hey, if you're in Southwest Missouri, be sure and check out some high school basketball around you. I'm partial, as is Darren, but man, there's lots and lots of good things going on in Southwest Missouri in high school basketball. So if you're a fan at all, go find a gym or check it out on Huddle or whatever you do to watch games. Check it out. There's some good teams and a lot of young men and young ladies out there that deserve some recognition. So with that, Darren, I'm gonna turn it over to you and let you sort of give your farewell here before I close this up.
You bet. Well, as always, we appreciate you tuning in and listening or watching. Um, Please be sure to stop by MissouriSportsNetwork.com, our website. Take a look at it. We have our high school teams of the week, high school athletes of the week, and you can see past shows of all of our shows. Be sure to follow us on Twitter at Missouri_sports and at DeRo _on deck. And be sure to follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube.
Yep, love it. Viewers out there, if you have ideas or stories, I say this almost every week, but if you have something we need to know about, please let us know. We would love to sing the praises, especially of collegiate and high school athletes that are close by here. We'd love to get that word out. So please reach out to us on any of those platforms that Darren mentioned. We'd love to get your story out there and spread the good stuff that's going on. So with that, I am Eric DeRosset, and for Darren Archer, I'm going to bid you farewell for tonight, and we hope to see you next week with On Deck with DeRo Arch.
This has been a presentation of the Missouri Sports Network. Thank you for tuning in.